Marriage rarely falls apart overnight. It usually starts with feeling stuck, the same fights, the same distance, the same silence after conflict. And eventually the question shifts from who's right to how did we get here? In this conversation, we're unpacking what keeps a marriage stuck, whether it's situational, stress, unhealthy communication patterns, or deeper emotional wounds from the past. We'll also explore growth and alignment, how to balance individual needs with couples' needs, navigate differences in values, parenting, ambition, and roles, and determine whether a relationship can adapt. And finally, we'll address the hard question many couples quietly. How do you know whether to keep working on it or consider a separation? What does real progress look like, and how do you measure it? This is an honest look at marriage and what it takes to move from stuck to intentional. This is part 2 of my series with Harj Heer, who is a registered clinical counselor with over 18 years of experience supporting children, youth, and families throughout the Lower Mainland. I suggest you listen to part 1 to understand a little bit more about relationship patterns, attachment styles, and relationship compatibility. Welcome to part 2 of Her Energy Unlock marriage and relationship series. A lot to unpack here.
Thanks for having me.
This is great because it's very insightful. As I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about my own marriage and I'm thinking about things that I want to pass down to my kids and what tools I want to give them. So, part 1 is really if you're in a relationship or are thinking of continuing a relationship, go listen to part 1 because it really lays down the foundational groundwork that you may not have even been taught or have considered when you decided to pick your partner. We're going to talk a little bit about feeling that stuckness and what happens when a marriage feels stuck. What patterns are often keeping people's marriages stuck?
Probably the bigger one is lack of good communication. And that usually involves avoiding some kind of repair
Mhm.
when arguments and disagreements are happening. So, stuff getting pushed under the rug, not getting talked about. And then another piece to that, connected to that, is not meeting your own and your partner's emotional needs. That comes up as well.
You emphasize the good. So not the, "Okay, bye, how's it going? Good. I'm good. That's good." Yeah, okay. So we're beyond that. It's actual communication where you're talking about layers of things that are going on while you're cohabiting in that environment.
And I think, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes for some couples or some families, it ends up or turns into the couple living like roommates. They don't get to see each other that much because of work schedules and kids schedules and other commitments and responsibilities and aging parents and all these things that those emotional needs then kind of sever as well with that. So I think that people get stuck in that cycle as well.
I think also in my age group now, I have a lot of friends who are going through separation and divorce. It's when the kids were young, everything was poured into the kids. And I feel like sometimes maybe the partners weren't able to maintain connection. And now that the kids are grown, they're kind of looking around and going, what happened here? Like, who is this person? Because they may not have connected with them with all those years. They have the time and space to maybe.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah, I think for a lot of folks it is. It's time and space and other commitments, like we mentioned. And I don't want to say don't, because I don't want to say it's on purpose, but you're not able to prioritize the relationship because all these other things now have been prioritized instead, right? Your kids, naturally, parents will say, no, like kids, their appointments, their health, their sports, their school. Obviously, that's going to be top priority to parents. So then their needs generally go to the bottom of the barrel,
They go to the
sadly.
bottom because you're trying to prioritize all these other things. How do past experiences or childhood patterns show up in marriages now?
I think childhood patterns can sometimes, I'm assuming we're talking about maybe the difficult ones, they usually show probably in communication. So do we sit down and resolve conflict? Do we resolve it quickly without validating each other just to kind of quick fix and move on? Do we avoid it altogether for some reason? So I think communication, unhealthy communication is probably where it will show up, one of the
Mhm.
places. And that's like sharing
Mhm.
your own needs, right? Like sharing your own needs, validating your partner's needs, that empathy piece.
That ties back to your values because if you, as the woman in the relationship, are sharing the things you need, if partner's mother never did that, that's foreign behavior to them. So that's where the shared values and asking the question of how are women supported and cared for in your family is so important which I talked about in part 1,
Such a good question.
because that will really give you insight on, just, the thought process there. And I'm not saying that they may say, "I don't align with that. I'm
Yeah.
actually well aware, and my job is I'm gonna wanna do, something else because I recognize this isn't a healthy pattern," and
Yeah, this person could be part of, let's break this cycle now, this unhealthy cycle, right? So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that also shows that there's space for change, right? If we have a little grace for each other as well, and like I said, we can see it from a recent previous experience as well that change is possible. You can also then feel a little bit more hopeful for change in the future without it feeling like an expectation.
what are some early warning signs that conflict is becoming harmful long term in a relationship?
I would say repetitive hurt, right? So again, usually from some kind of communication, disagreement. Again, you're falling into the same pattern, and one of you or both of you are walking away feeling not great, right? So you've had this repair or lack of repair, and now that's the cycle now. That's how you communicate when things get difficult. I think this really is the crux of it, that communication is such a priority, but the way we end up doing it, it turns into a pattern, right? So if the pattern is unhealthy, whether that's from your childhood, your 20s, or whatever it is, it's going to get in the way of that emotional connection between the two of you.
How can we break the cycle of repeating the same fights? So maybe you're listening right now, and you and your partner have the same conflicts over the same thing. How do we stop from repeating that cycle?
For sure. I would say do a bit of a deep dive as to what's going on for you, why are you feeling hurt when you're stuck in this cycle, and then figure out what's the belief under that feeling. Like what is it? I'll give you an example. If one of you is regularly late when you and your partner schedule things, right? And your partner says to you, you're always late. It's to for that partner who's saying you're always late. For on their end, they look, okay, why is this important to me? Why am I always upset that they're late, right? I feel let down, I feel disappointed. What's a deeper issue here? I don't feel prioritized. When if I was to share that with you instead of saying you're always late, this sucks, like you're so rude or inconsiderate, like if I'm saying that to you versus, hey man, like you've been late so many times, I feel like you don't prioritize me. That's gonna land so different.
I was a 5-minute late type of person. That's just the way I kind of rolled in life. I think my son was like 10, and he said, "Mom, I don't like you being late." And I was so defensive. I was like, "Well, I have all these other priorities. I got to cook dinner. I got to do." That's not his problem,
It
right?
really wasn't. No,
It really wasn't. He
no.
just did not like showing up somewhere 5 minutes late into the dressing room when everybody else is already there. And so I started showing up 5 minutes early. I'm like, "We gotta leave now, or this is the time we're leaving," and I would backtrack and be like, "Okay, it takes me 50 minutes to do this, an hour to do this, I gotta start this, I gotta start." So I started doing that mental math. Okay, this is the time I'm leaving, and I was like, "Okay, let's go." He's like, "We're 5 minutes early." I go, "Let's just be early." Now early is, and it's so true though. I really hate being late now. I try everything in my power. It happens once in a while. It's never intentional. And now that's the thing that bothers me when people are late. I'm like, "You don't value my time."
Well, and look at the change, right? Look at the change that happened as an adult for you, and it was sparked by a young child. So always great to be humble too, right? Because we learn so much from the little ones too.
Yeah. And when people say, "Oh, that person's notoriously late," if they're late for work, well, they'll get fired. But if they're late for a coffee date, there's no accountability there, right? So I always say is if that behavior is repeated everywhere in their life, well, maybe you got to choose who you want to hang out with. If they're late to work every day, that's a problem. But if they're on time for work, but not on time for you, and that bothers you, it's fair to have a discussion.
Yeah,
That's what adults do. Is there
yeah.
a better way to handle disagreements when one person shuts down? Because we talked a little bit about in episode 1 walking away, taking that 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I take longer. I need more of a calm down, like, and I'm okay with that because I'm like, "Hey, I'm just not in the mood to resolve this right now. I've got other things on my mind. I wanna make sure." What is the best way to handle those sort of disagreements when one person does shut down?
I would say take the break, right? Take the break. If someone's shut down and you're pressing, or following them around the house, or constantly texting and calling, like that's also a sign that you need to calm down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
If you're someone who feel like, no, like I need the answer to this, like I need the answer to this, that's gonna calm me, that's going to calm me down. Also that's a bit of an emergency response that's coming. So if you can, try and go calm yourself down while the other person's taking their time too. And it's huge. And calming down is not walking around going, why did they do this? Why don't they answer my phone? We need to resolve this. That's not calming down. Calming down is calming your breath down. It's physiologically calming the body down. What we said earlier, oxygen going to your brain, thoughts are clearing up. And now you can actually regulate and have a conversation. You can listen, you can understand, then you can respond.
Both parties need to calm down.
If I may add, the other piece is like if one person's walked out in anger, and one person has shut down, even a person that has shut down, let's say in the middle of a conversation, and now they've just gone quiet, that person needs to go regulate too, right? Just because the person's not yelling, screaming, or being kind of more external doesn't mean they're nice and calm on the inside.
But do you revisit the conversation after you've calmed down?
Always, always, always,
Okay.
always, always.
Okay.
Yeah. There's repair has to happen. Like I'm not a black and white person, but repair has to happen always. Because what's the alternative to that? Right? We don't talk about it. You've got all these assumptions, you've got all these feelings, and they're not resolved and not cleared up.
Now I'm going to talk to maybe people who've been married the 15, 20-year mark. And how do they connect if they feel that they've grown apart emotionally or feel distant from their partner?
I would say go back to basics of dating. Spend time together. Go for a walk, go for a coffee, go for a hike, because we live in this beautiful place if you're listening from over here. But go back to basics of dating. And if you did not date for whatever reason, go date each other.
You're allowed to now.
You're allowed to now.
He's allowed to buy you flowers and you're allowed to bring them into your house.
And you can say they're from him.
Yeah, with pride. You're not hiding them.
You're not hiding, and you're not taking those rotis for your friend. It's okay. Yeah.
It was broughted.
Yeah. They were brought in. I would say, yeah, go back to dating, right? Spending time with each other, getting to know each other now. Like what's going on now? How are things going at work? Just think when we're dating, we're asking each other all these questions. Like what do you do for work? What are you doing on the weekend? As much as you know parts of your lives, because you're together, there's probably parts that you've missed because you're so busy.
I also think there is growth if, you got married young. I got married at 24. My husband's 23. Yes, I'm older than him. We've changed as people. That's going to happen. And so as long as we talked about values, as long as your values align, because I feel those are really core fundamental things, all those other little things that change along the way, you tend to embrace. And it's actually fun to discover, okay, this is our new version of ourselves. This is our X amount of years married self. Kids are much grown and we have that free will and free time to spend on ourselves. And like you said, get the flowers or go out on the dates or even go for a walk together, which is so nice.
When I think kind of reigniting some of that emotional connection, that's usually what I let couples know is okay, if you're I'm bad at planning dates and yeah, but I always have to plan them. Again, like none of them are really wanting to okay, then take turns.
Yeah,
Each week or each month or whatever it is, what works in your budget and time frame, take turns. You're literally looking to spend time and energy together, right? Off your phones, like just good old like talking about the day and the future and the past and anything you want to really.
besides like dating that you can try to do to feel closer with your partner.
I usually tell folks to do is again, if you're home in the evenings, is to 100% do a check-in at the end of the day.
What does that look like?
So that looks like when you're and before that actually greeting each other throughout the day. If you're able to throughout the day, you're connecting via phone or a text. A one-off. This is again, you've both got jobs and other responsibilities. You're going to be texting and calling each other the whole day, right? But if you have the time and energy to, just a one-off, how's your day going? So that's connection in the day.
I'm going to stop you there because when you're dating, you're on the phone with them left, right, and center and sending good morning texts. So,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we doing that now after 20 plus years of marriage?
So it can look different though. It can look different. So you're checking in throughout the day if you're able to. When you greet each other at the end of the day, come in for a hug.
Hmm.
Whether you're doing the hug, you're the kiss, or whatever it is, like physically greet each other. Like that shows your partner that, hey, nice to see you again. Again, you don't have to sit there for 10 minutes holding each other in an embrace. You've got other things to do, but give each other a hug.
Well, and that physical touch is so important. In South Asian communities, that sort of embrace and saying "I love you" was not something that's practiced.
Bit awkward, let's face it, right? Still a little bit awkward. If we saw a couple in a like there's a family gathering and we see a couple hug each other, I think still for a lot of us, we'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah. I
Still a little bit foreign,
It does, and I remember when I first got married and I went to Toronto and I went to a wedding and they did this couples dance. They said, "If you're a couple, come up and do a slow dance." And I looked over and I'm like, "My brother's here." I'm like, and I was married. I'm like, "No, my brother's here. I'm not doing that." Like, that's so weird. But now it's important to say to your kids, "Hey, I love you." Those should be common words that you use because especially for men who are listening and have daughters, because it's not only how you treat your daughter who's going to mirror that love in a partner she picks, it's how are you treating the mother of your daughter that she will pick up on also.
exactly. And I think that's where, again, like you do this example of having a check-in at the end of the day. That's the whole, how was your day? What's new? Or what happened with so and so? If you knew there was a big project or something that, doing a podcast, how did the podcast go? Like being engaged and interested. And you can have that conversation while you're putting away the groceries or while you're driving the kids or something. Or if again, it's not possible, have it at the end of the night,
Mm.
right? Check in so you know about each other's day.
And you can see then, you can also then call out on your partner when if they're doing something and that's going to be getting them into that red zone. You can have that discussion saying, "Hey, you're going in to go see that boss tomorrow. And I know last time you went, things didn't end up well. Have you thought about how are you going to plan for that?" And that's that love and support I feel that people want in relationships.
Right? You've got each other's back. Like that feels pretty nice.
That does. That
Yeah.
does. To know you're
Yeah.
supported. Men need it too, that they feel supported at home with whatever tasks. I think men need it too, but it's
Hmm.
also for men to also give that support to women
Yeah.
because you will then receive it back. How can differences in values, parenting, or career ambitions cause friction in marriages?
I mean, they can cause friction if there's a mass difference in those values. But if you've already been having the conversations about family finances or communication, and let's say things start to shift, if you're going back to the drawing board and bringing that stuff up again, you might be able to get to some resolution versus a friction.
So how do we know whether we can work through issues or consider separation?
I think in my humble but biased opinion, I would say try going to therapy to help you figure it out. Unless you've got some family or social support, friends, you've got someone you can kind of count on who can help you with that, great. Otherwise, I would say reach out for support so you can at least help navigate whatever you're trying to figure out, right? You don't have to figure it out on your own. We are all social emotional beings. We need each other. We lean on each other. And if you don't have that or you're not comfortable doing that in your social or family circle, come out and reach for therapy. Reach out to therapy, bring your partner, see what's going on, see, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm looking at for the future. See if those things align. Couples can end up being, they could amicably separate. They can, set some goals for each other and themselves and work it out and stay together. Some couples even make agreements to say, okay, we're going to stay together for this long. And then if not, like it really is person to person, family to family, couple to couple.
I think we've broken down a lot of stigma around therapy. I think a lot of people think that the therapist is kind of the mediator who says you're wrong and you're right. But I encourage a lot of people to go to therapy. And the reason I do, because I feel like therapy gives you the tools. It's not giving you the answers. It's not judging you. It's not telling you who's wrong or who's right. It gives you the space to talk to somebody who's impartial, because sometimes we even if we go to family members, they have their own biases, who's impartial that allows you to talk things through, essentially. And if you're going to a gym for the first time, you're going to hire probably a trainer or go to a class because you want to learn how to use all this equipment. Therapy is the same thing, or I feel like therapy is the same thing with your brain, that you got to figure out all of this emotional stuff that we're dealing with. And I think therapy is extremely also very powerful, but it can be very difficult too because it requires you to look inwards.
Exactly.
Where the true breakthrough happens. People will be like, "Oh, I went to therapy for 3 years." Well, you were probably just not looking inwards.
Right, and that's the piece, like, when you think about the previous episode as well, right? When you go to therapy as a couple to try and work through some things that have maybe you're not sure, but they've been piling, right? But we get to this point of now things have ruptured now all of a sudden, but it's not all of a sudden. Therapy can also help you then connect those dots to your childhood and any core beliefs that you had that were maybe a little bit of a negative core belief, and then we can help shift those, right? Or any patterns that you thought were like, okay, this is how it's meant to be. Like we can shift those now and go, well, those are not working for you right now. So that's where therapy comes in too, right? So I always say give it a chance because it can help do this as well. It can just at least connect some dots for you to figure out that's why I'm feeling this way, or that's why I want this, or that's why I'm doing this. And then your partner gets to do the same, and then you get to collaborate and figure out, okay, how are we moving forward? Whatever that looks like.
Whatever that looks like. I would even recommend even possibly even before you're getting married. I know in Christianity, some churches give you like therapy sessions and it's more to help you connect with God. Harj, what do you think about people who are deciding if they want to get married or are getting married? Would going to a therapy session as a couple be helpful?
It would be very, very much helpful. So there's a gentleman that officiates Sikh weddings, and he does that part of his practice. Again, I think I only know of this one person who does this, but you're going in, you're learning about, the Sikh Anand marriage, but there's these other pieces as well about marriage, and those discussions happen. So a few years ago, I actually to some of the gurdwaras and introduced myself, and I said, spoke to the person who arranges the weddings, and I said, hey man, like just want to pass on my card, really encouraging couples to come in and talk about marriage as they plan their wedding. I did that for this reason, to be like, hey, let's get a bit of this foundation going. You're going to be wrapped up for the next 2 years plus less planning a wedding, which again, fabulous milestone. Also, let's plan these early years of marriage so you're off to a good start. So I would highly recommend it. I know some couples are hesitant, but I would recommend it.
Sometimes what we're not given those tools in our environment at home, and maybe you're seeing that the relationship maybe the potential partner has with their family isn't something you want. Maybe going to therapy would be a good idea to get kind of an impartial view of, okay, what is actually going on, because you don't trust me, breaking off an engagement is easier than breaking off a marriage. Harj, I just wanted to also ask, what is the best way to get a hold of you? And if people are interested, and maybe because people may not know what therapy would look like,
Mhm.
is there an option to book some time with you through your website? What's the best way people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm in two different locations. The best one is probably email, and I can share that with you
I can
at
put
the end
that
here.
in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll get back to you in a day or two max. And if you're unsure of whether you're wanting individual or couples, again, you can set up like this free 15-minute consult. We can figure out what you want to do. If you are looking for couples counseling, usually I recommend that each person come in separately first, because then I'll get to know their childhood and their past and
Mhm.
connect all those dots before I see the couple together.
Sometimes I feel maybe that marriage issues underlying other issues, right?
Yeah, yeah, they're usually connected to something, right? So yeah, you have the option of I'm in South Surrey a couple of days a week at Living Wellness Center, and then I have my own office in Abbotsford a couple of days a week as well. And in Abbotsford, I'm there on Saturday, so that offers some flexibility for some clients if they're interested.
That's awesome. And I know we talked a lot about marriages, but you also do additional therapy, which I will put all in the show notes. Definitely reach out to Harj. Just in our conversation today, I feel a warmth and guidance. And I myself have gotten so much clarity. I feel like this is my therapy session. My podcast is my therapy session that I'm just recording. So
Yay!
is that feeling stuck in a marriage doesn't mean it's over. It means it's time to pay attention. We explore the patterns that can keep couples trapped, how past experiences show up in relationships, and the way conflict, emotional distance, and misaligned values can quietly erode connection. We talked about the importance of emotional safety, healthy communication, growth, and balancing individual and couple needs. Feeling stuck is an invitation to understand your marriage more deeply and take steps toward clarity, connection, and growth, whether that means rebuilding together or making thoughtful decisions about the future. Harj, I want to thank you so much or your time. If you're interested in booking time with Harj, please check out the show notes and reach out to her because I think it would be a worthwhile discussion in seeking clarity for your life and relationships you're in. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and continue the conversation over on Instagram or TikTok at Her Energy Unlocked Podcast. I cannot wait to hear from you. Until next time, remember your energy is yours to reclaim, your story is yours to rewrite, and your next chapter is waiting. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.